Hi, and welcome to another episode of We're Not Late, You're Early
In
in 5D.
5D. Yeah,
But
apologies. This one is, I guess it's both of our fault.
it really is. It is both of our faults. But before we go into the blame game, I just want to say the first thing that got through the live audio was you opening that fucking beer. So it's literally and then me.
Actually, even worse, this beer is not open. There was stuff on the can, so I was spraying it off
Oh,
with my
you're
dust
the
off.
worst. You're the worst. Wow, at least I respected you before that. And now, not even that. Oh,
There was shit on the can, but it was down in the lip, so like I couldn't just wipe it off.
be a
so...
man and lick it off. God damn it,
Bro, that's how the whole pandemic. I have not gotten COVID, but somehow I got strep throat, and even the doctor was like, "Are you around kids?" And I said, "No, we haven't been visiting anybody. Pandemic." And he goes, "You don't just get strep throat." And I'm like, "I've been at my house. Because this was like early, right?
Yeah.
This was like first year of pandemic." And I'm like, "Bro, I haven't left my house at all." And he's like, "Well, that's not how you get strep throat." So the best I can figure, there must have just been, it might, because he said it, without taking a swab of my throat, there's no way to know if it's strep throat, but the strep throat medication cleared it. So most likely it was just some sort of infection-y bacteria thing in my throat. And the best I can figure is it had to be schmutz from a beer can. So now when I see shit on my beer can,
I mean,
no, never again.
I don't know if that's true, but I understand how that happens.
But like what, like, It literally, like anybody who's like, he should ask his wife. Literally, it was at the point where nobody had left the house. We had done nothing but sit at the house.
It could be as simple as a DoorDash driver grabbed your fucking doorknob.
I mean, yeah.
Shit like that, right? Like, it is so fucking... If people sat and actually thought about how it is that infectious diseases pass... There, congrats. You'd really just be surprised at all the shit. Like,
yeah, but it's just one of those things now where I'm like, you know what we're gonna do just to help the whole situation. So we're not doing that shit. we dust off the camera. Fuck, my camera's being a real jerk today.
I have a feeling that it's because you're sitting in the dark. Your camera more often than not doesn't like it.
It was if I pull the window shade down, the sun currently is right there. Maybe it's gone down. Let's test it. We're gonna test and see if I have a big shiny bald head.
Yeah, we're about to see if as soon as he gets that in, well, the camera definitely readjusted it for a sec. Let's see if it comes back into focus. There we go.
Okay, it's not super shiny. It's not
super shiny, just a little shiny. It's fine. Everybody gets to be a little shiny sometimes. So I actually did stuff this last 2 weeks that I get to talk about because more often than not I kind of get stuck with work. I have some things that other folks have already watched for sure, and I have some new stuff that I've played. And there's one thing I do want to talk about because I've stated on this podcast before, I've always been a huge fan of Top Gun. That it had a special place in my heart. We'll go into that story here in a bit, but I watched Maverick, and I know, I get where you're coming from, but you know what? If I'm being honest, and I know this is going to be an inflammatory statement on the movie screen, not shows. I think it's the best reboot,
like ever.
Best reboot that currently comes to mind. I'm sure you can come up with another one that I was like, oh shit, I forgot about that. But yeah.
My problem with a statement like that is when I think a lot of people...
Sorry, I apologize. It's not a reboot. It's a straight sequel.
Yes.
There
it
you
is
go.
A straight sequel.
My bad. It is... Okay. So, it is...
And even still, I'm like, that might be worse.
No. So it is a straight sequel. So the problem is obviously Terminator 2 comes over as the best sequel ever.
And though I don't agree with it, a lot of people would claim Aliens over Alien.
Okay. So
and let's never forget the immortal Gremlins 2.
I mean, I thought you were going to say Empire Strikes Back, but Okay, that too.
Yeah.
Um,
I lean Gremlins 2 over Empire.
yeah, I like that. That's where you
It's
went
not
with that, and
true.
that's not going to start a fight or anything with anybody. Okay, so I guess unfortunately I have to qualify it. So lately, there's been a lot of films that have been called reboots that are just sequels trying to hand off the torch, right?
Yes.
So
See Ghostbusters Afterlife, which is not bad, but it's
no,
very much
not
what you're
bad.
describing.
Yep. So I don't know what to call these films. They're.
I've always tried to call them sea boots. It's one part sequel, it's one part reboot. It's not quite either thing. It's a sea boot.
Yeah, and the problem with this one is that it is pretty much a straight sequel, but a lot of the elements in it, you can totally see how they were also going for it to be a seaboot, let's call it.
Okay.
Right? This is the best version of this I have ever seen. And
Okay.
I want to go into why. So, like, we can't get away from
Well,
it.
hold on. Give me this first before you go into your why.
Sure.
Because I feel like, especially with something like this, where this is a weird one to release, because I feel like most of this younger generation has no connection to this movie.
Yes.
You know, this movie is older than you and I are. We are familiar with it because of our parents and older siblings, but the generation now, I don't know that a lot of them have seen Top Gun. So what is your relation to Top Gun?
So, this is one of those I was poor stories. So, when I first came to the States, I was poor, right? There was a very kind family who took interest in mine, and basically, outside of me, the lady taught my mom how to operate in the U.S., right?
Sure.
She helped her out. She really helped elevate her from just a field laborer to a woman that actually thinks on her feet, can operate as a single woman, things like that, right?
Yeah.
So this family was very kind to us. The husband was a Vietnam vet, and he was a pilot from Vietnam. And when I was very young, 4, took me up in my first airplane ride. And he was the first person to show me Top Gun. So for me, it's a connection. He died of cancer when I was also very young. So for me, it's a connection to a person who took interest in me when I was very young, an interest in me that had no basis for anything, in the sense like I wasn't his kid, I wasn't related to him in any way.
Yeah.
Just a kind dude. And he really gave me a love for aviation. So I wanted to be a pilot. I still do. I've got my GI Bill. I'm probably going to try to use it to get my pilot's license. Obviously, I'm not going to be a fighter pilot, but
Man, you were the right size for a fighter pilot too.
Yeah, for sure. Unfortunately,
you really were.
Unfortunately, I'm pretty sure my ADD, which is still undiagnosed, I'm just
Ooh,
learning.
look, a missile.
Well, I just the math part, I don't know that I would have been able to do.
Yeah.
If I'm being completely honest, and it's not that I can't do math; it's that it's just extremely boring, and I'd rather do anything else.
I can't do math.
Fair enough. I passed all of my math stuff. I just didn't pass it with flying colors.
I passed all my math stuff with a D-, which is enough to pass math.
I think I ended up getting C's just because I did the bare minimum. But in that case, so that's my connection. I have bought Top Gun in VHS. I've bought it digitally. I've bought a DVD at different periods in my life. I go and I watch it, and it reminds me of just a very kind soul, I guess is the best way I can put it, right?
Sure. So it's a nostalgic film for you that has, a lot of personal reference. How do you feel about the movie? Kind of separate yourself. Top Gun is a film.
So here's the issue. A lot of the times when Top Gun is reviewed nowadays, it's reviewed with our current lens.
Yes.
And unfortunately, that's one of those movies that not only was it a product of its time,
yes.
With the conflicts inside of the film, like the folks that they were worried about, right? This is an 80s film through and through. That also means that it has 80s aesthetic, it has 80s music, and it's got a bunch of things we didn't really think about back then, right? I will call one thing out specifically that everyone loves to give this film, the original film, bunch of shit for, and that's the volleyball scene, right? 100%. Best part, I thought, and I actually literally laughed out loud in the theater, they do a version of it in this. Unapologetically, they do a version of it in this. It's not quite as homoerotic as the first one, right? Because that's the thing that everybody talks about. But it was done right. There were still oily individuals running around. It wasn't just dudes. There was a lady. I don't recall if she was as oily. And instead, spoiler, not really a big spoiler, instead of playing volleyball, they play football on the beach. And a bunch of dudes don't have shirts on and may or may not have what they think is sunscreen, but it's probably that oily bronze stuff. And
I was just going to say pure lard.
Right? No. That's the old adage. Like, the true sunblock is Crisco. Remember?
Yeah.
Because Lewis Black said, when you start to sizzle, you move your ass.
Yeah.
No.
When you smell bacon, you get the fuck off the beach.
So I kind of have to respect them for going for it and just kind of being
Fair.
like, hey, yeah, this is a thing. This is part of this film. And as much as people hate it, it's a thing. And here's how we're doing it this time. So I respected that.
Okay.
But yeah, so relation to the original, I think the original is a classic. 100%. Because it shows back when movie stars were movie stars, right? It is star powered. The plot itself is very much for its time. It's a Hunt for Red October. It's that, right? Like, as many jokes as folks like to say and talk shit about, it was a mega blockbuster when it came out. If we look at it at today's lens, yeah, it's a little dated. Not everything holds up for sure, but the points it was trying to come across, I believe, still come across. So that's where I fall on the original. Taking a step out, get the nostalgia out.
Yeah.
As a film itself, it's not the greatest film in the world.
No.
By all means. But it's a good film. It's just not the greatest film.
So, and then just to level set so everybody knows where we're both coming from, and I don't think this is going to be a huge shocker to anybody. Not a Top Gun fan personally. This isn't one that my brother would watch over and over. I actually really don't think he's a Top Gun fan as well. I guess not even weirdly, just one of those films did not resonate with me and my brother as kids. Kind of just no anchor to it for anything. Maybe it might be one of those ones that if I, because I haven't seen it in over 20 years, easily over 20 years. Maybe if I went back and rewatched it, I might soften into not disliking it, but not loving it.
Yeah.
But yeah, me and action movies in general. I'm not a huge when an action movie is really stylized, I can get into it. But on a more just broad sense, I'm not a big action movie guy. I kind of think Tom Cruise is a douchebag. So I don't know him personally. Just the image that the media paints, the only window of this dude that I have, he kind of comes off as a douchebag.
Yeah, so this is
that makes it hard to watch.
For me, Cruise is one of those actors where his portrayal in the media and just the articles and his marriages and all that.
It's hard to separate you know me. I'm a big separate art from the artist guy. I don't think it's kind of like a Jared Leto. I don't think his performances that I've seen justify his behavior enough for me to go.
And unfortunately,
I
don't want to call you out or anything like that, but unfortunately, you do have a bias not only against action movies, but anything involving the military. You generally, it's not your bag. You're not really interested, unless it's like Space Marines, I think, because we're.
I love Enemy at the Gates. There are military films, but yes, for the most part,
generally
you are
speaking,
right.
like
I'm
war
not
movies.
a big Western, not a big war movie guy. There had like Saving Private Ryan was really fun is probably the worst word to use to describe Saving Private Ryan, but you know what I mean. I enjoyed the film.
It was well done. It had good performances.
I love Enemy at the Gates. Enemy at the Gates is a big bit. Like, that's probably my favorite war movie. Loved Enemy at the Gates. And weirdly, here's one that catches people kind of fucking left field. U-571. Legitimately liked that.
Okay. And see, for me, I guess I'm more of a fan of Das Boot than U-571.
And I've actually never done Das Boot. I really should.
It is good.
Not to derail us too much.
Yeah,
you know the other one that really surprises people that I enjoyed, and even I cannot explain it, but I really enjoyed the film? Master and Commander. Fucking Russell Crowe.
I haven't seen it.
It's actually good.
Yeah.
Again, probably haven't seen it in 15 to 20 years.
So,
but when I saw it, I walked out of the theater going, wow, that was actually great.
I know people look, say what you want about Russell Crowe. I think
the guy's a douchebag.
He's a giant douchebag, but he brings the performances. I just,
and same thing, like Tom Cruise in Tropic Thunder is fantastic. Tom Cruise in like Legend, I actually really like him. Rain Man is obviously a classic, so he has good films, but for the most part, when I see something starring Tom Cruise, I come into it hesitant because he's just too weird.
So for me, I'm in the same boat where I separate the artist from the art.
Best you can. It's never 100%.
There's certain exceptions, obviously, for me. Like I refuse to touch anything Chris Brown because does it even need to be said? I'm like, look, I don't like anything that you're selling, and especially with you getting away with being a douchebag, whatever. So I understand where you're coming from. For me, outside of rumors, there hasn't been substantiated enough stuff about Tom for me to just completely
he's never
write him
like
off.
Beaten people, threatened people.
It's usually
he's more just really. He's weird and off-putting. That's all it is. He's a strange dude who can be a little off-putting.
A lot of the stories I've heard are more about the people around him and how they treat him. Where it's like his staff tends to mistreat people on his behalf. And
then you have to ask yourself, is it him? Is it them? There's no way of knowing.
Because most folks that have done interviews, and look, he's probably the last superstar that's really still working. Like, can anyone else carry a movie like Tom Cruise by himself?
I mean, now that Bruce Willis is retired, I think you're kind
right?
of Liam Neeson's got a couple more in him. But legitimately,
but that's not the case anymore.
Liam Neeson a fucking Tom Cruise?
No.
Man, you want to say yes, but I don't know.
Liam Neeson was never Tom Cruise. So
until Taken. Taken put him up there.
No, it did not. Taken was one film where he made a lot of money.
Taken is like 5 films where he made a lot of money.
Sure. Well, sorry, he made a lot of money, but the films didn't make a lot of money necessarily. I think 1 and 2.
I thought the first couple did good.
I think 1 and 2 did really well, and after that, I don't know that they did. You'd have to check.
I just more mean if
it.
we're talking about old school actors come action star.
But
Tom Cruise is not always action.
That's not
Tom Cruise was not always.
That's not what I'm talking about.
Okay.
I'm talking about a movie star who could show up to a studio and say, "I'm gonna do this," and the studio goes, "Here's our money."
Oh yeah. So what you had like Brad Pitt, Tom Hanks, Bruce Willis, Tom Cruise.
You had those. At one point, Stallone was there.
Stallone and Schwarzenegger for a chunk of the 90s, but that had probably petered out by the
80s,
early to late 2000s. Yeah,
so
80s and 90s.
It was 80s, right. 90s. Like think of something like End of Days.
Yeah.
Stuff like that, right?
Do we have to?
Right, but it wasn't. I'm just saying that I think Tom Cruise is the last.
Him and Tom Hanks probably are the last two holding on that can show up and just go, this is getting made right now. And
for sure, except Hanks is really more on, I'm just going to do what makes me happy kind of stuff.
Which, good for him, to be honest.
Yeah, and Cruise is doing the same thing.
Except his shit is weird.
And that's okay, though, because this isn't just me defending Tom Cruise. This is me defending the art. You have a couple of these artists who are like, hey, I've done a bunch of the mainstream stuff. I just like to branch out and do some other shit for a while.
Okay, I feel like I'm just gonna call this spade a spade. You know what the really weird thing for me on this film is? The one thing that I go, yeah, yet again, this guy's just being a creepy douchebag.
Mm-hmm.
I find it really irresponsible that we let this guy and a bunch of actors learn how to fly fucking fighter jets.
Okay, correction. They didn't actually do that. So
at all?
No. So what happened was, literally, the contract stated, because I did look into this, the contract stated you're allowed to fly in the airplane. You're not allowed to touch any of the fucking controls. So...
Okay, because the way they painted this picture was we trained a bunch of these assholes, and I was like, look, while that's an amazing once-in-a-lifetime experience for them, That is fucking irresponsible
So
as all. Like, obviously, you wouldn't load the guns, you wouldn't load the missiles, and even still, that is a savagely
they
irresponsible
never
thing to do.
piloted the planes themselves. If you,
Okay,
it was really good camera tricks. Once you watch it, you start to understand what they did get training on, because of some of the scenes was under how to bail out over an ocean, and some more of that safety training that fighter pilots do get in case you do need to eject, in case any of this stuff happens. So a lot of the requirements for them to even fly in these vehicles were that they get training to not die in case something
survive.
went
Yeah.
wrong, and some other more just general, like, hey, if the plane's going really fast, here's the things you need to do to not immediately pass out, because they
Right.
were subjected to additional G's, right?
Yeah.
Legitimately. So
Okay.
getting
So
that,
yeah, we've tap danced around it. Tell us about the movie.
all right, so Tom Cruise Maverick, here's my favorite part about this. It knows what it is. It knows that it's about an aging superstar, and it does its best to show you that, yeah, Maverick has always gone his own way, but that's not necessarily a good thing. So
Sure.
this movie has been out for a while. There's going to be some spoilers. Let
Take
me
that.
just put that out there. So we come to Maverick damn near at the end of his career, in the sense where he's never been promoted beyond his level because nobody can fucking trust him to follow orders. He's been kicked around a bunch of different programs within the Navy, and basically he's got one buddy, that's the Iceman character from the first one, who is now a more important person than him, an admiral, who has been kind of watching his back, and the reason that he's still even in is because he's had that bit of a guardian angel. So
Okay.
that's the setup in the beginning. So when we find Maverick, he has been he has been piloting experimental aircraft for those like DARPA programs or the research programs for the Navy.
So he's become Hal Jordan.
Kind of, right? Because basically this is kind of the only place that'll take him. No one wants him to run real missions. This is the only place that will allow him to continue flying. That's the setup. And then through a series of events, including his buddy basically making this happen to him, he gets
Is that the Val Kilmer character? Is his buddy? Okay.
Iceman.
Yep.
He basically gets thrust into hey, we have this really big deal mission, this really mission MacGuffin that requires these very specific things because there's these new generation fighters that this nation has. They never even named the nation, which I actually think is fantastic. They just
Yeah, I do. I like that.
they called it a rogue nation. They never even show the face of any of the bad guys because
Wow.
they're wearing helmets for
Yeah.
the fighter pilots. The logo that their planes have aren't attached to any country. I thought that was legitimate.
That's a great call.
I thought we were going to go back to the days where we picked the enemy of the day that may or may not hold up
Right.
in future generations, and we were going to make
Yeah.
them the baddies. They didn't. I love that. I thought that was
Yeah,
fantastic.
that's a great call. Well done.
Well fucking done. So, he has to... there's this mission, and he comes in and he's like, oh, okay, so y'all want me to fly it? And they're like, no, nobody can fucking trust you. We want you to teach these other assholes who have already gone through the Top Gun program how to fly it. They're already really good at what they do. They are the top of their fighter generations. They're all really good. You just need to teach them how to do the crazy shit you do on this one mission. And they kind of tell them, they're like, look, once this is done, that's it. This is your last posting. There won't be another posting. Your options are retire or get kicked out, basically, is what he's told.
Jeez.
So, that's the setup. I'm not going to give away the little plot points. The big deal that they threw in, which I was uncomfortable at first, but I'm okay with how it happened, was that Goose's son was part of the best of the best.
Of course he was.
Exactly. That's kind of how I felt. But they weave it in a way that makes a little bit more sense in why there's drama around it. At first, you're just kind of, they don't reveal the whole story to you, and you're kind of like, I feel like if y'all just sat down and talked about it, like this would, it felt like
it's a Seinfeld episode. If only you had a cell phone
or a Friends episode, right? Like,
yeah.
Maybe if one of you didn't become appalled and run out of the fucking room, y'all would have figured this out. That's how it starts off with, but then they justify it, and they justify it in a way that makes sense.
Okay.
Do you want that part? You're not going to see this, right?
I'm never going to see this film.
So I'll spoil it for that one plot point. So, it is revealed that the Maverick character pulled the application for his call sign is Rooster, Goose's kid. They pulled his application to the Naval Academy, and at first you're not told why. You just go, oh, it's because Maverick is a dick and he thought he wasn't ready. It actually turns out that it was a promise that he made to his mother. Basically, before she died, basically, she didn't want the same thing that happened to his dad to happen to him. So she basically got Maverick to promise that he wouldn't let him be a fighter.
Okay.
Pilot. So, once,
is this the Miles Teller character, I take it?
Yes. Okay. So once that is revealed, you go, okay, that makes sense. But they do it in an organic way. And this is another part that I wanted to talk about. So there's a sex scene with Jennifer Connelly, right? However, it is by far one of the most well-done scenes because it's a bridge to intimacy that allows the Maverick character to talk through some of the bullshit he's going through, and it helps them reveal that conversation that he had with the original mother. It is... So what they show is that he becomes vulnerable with her. They don't show any of the sex. There's no nudity. You just show them like lying down together, kissing, and then the next scene is like she's not even naked. Like there's just a blanket covering both of them, and you don't know if she's wearing something under it. Like, and they have
it's the classic. The blanket is pulled up to her chest, but only down to his pelvis.
No. Completely. This is why I'm liking this movie. It is, he's on his back, she's lying on his chest, and the blanket comes up to her neck, because why would it go any further than that? She's facing him, right? So,
yeah, that's much better blocking.
Legitimately well done, and and I, being the movie reviewer I am, I was ready to fucking jump on all that shit. I was like, really? We're going to have a sex scene? What the fuck purpose does this serve? What are we doing? I was saying that in my head, and then they did it, and I went, okay, all right.
Yeah, back on board.
Yep, my bad. This makes sense. It also helped that whole scenario to illustrate kind of how Maverick has just fucked up a little bit of everything. In the last 20 years, because this is obviously 20 years later.
Yeah.
In time. So I thought that was well done. I thought they used it for show of intimacy, show of exposition, and to really show what changed this character's mind or what propelled him. It wasn't because he was brilliant. It wasn't because he was gonna get it all along. It was because he showed some level of vulnerability to his partner, and through that there was a revelation of sorts, right? And that I don't want to spoil that because it kind of clinches on that the big bang of the movie, on that revelation and how he handles the situation, whatever. But I thought it was well done. So on top of that, let's talk about cinematography. They do enough to bring you back to the old movie. The score, the music, because there's a difference between score and music. The score is done really well, where they've taken versions of the older songs and modernized them, and used well. So like the Danger Zone thing, the theme song, it's been a joke for years. They did a version of it where they modernized it, and it was used perfectly to emphasize certain
Was it still
scenes.
Kenny Loggins?
I don't think it was. I think it was a female singing it.
Burn this whole place to the ground.
But it was used so many times that I'm sure the Kenny Loggins one played at least at one point.
He
but,
is still alive. I double checked. We could have gotten Kenny. There wasn't there where I was like, wait, was this an option? It was an option.
But again, do you want to? Do you really want it to be the same as the last movie?
Now, Eduardo, while I am not this white, I think I need to go ahead and speak on behalf of all white people and say you never, ever, ever doubt Kenny Loggins.
Sure, but again, we're talking about modernizing. You specifically called out.
Okay, so
why does
I
this
think
generation give a fuck about?
You get Kenny Loggins a distortion pedal.
Yeah, no,
modern Kenny Loggins.
That's not modern Kenny Loggins. That's 90s Kenny Loggins.
That is 90s Kenny Loggins.
But anyways, so I thought
right, let's get Kenny Loggins Jr.
There you go, or I don't know, Cammy Loggins. I don't know if he's got a son or a daughter.
Fair.
I'm not sure. I legitimately don't know. But that being said, I thought it was well done. I thought the score was good. Now let's move to the action scenes.
That was me moving to the action scenes.
Yeah. I had a lot of fun.
Okay.
Even during some of the training scenarios, although, and I will talk about the weaknesses of this film because it wasn't perfect. But I felt that with what they had exposed about the characters, even the training sequences, the action, there was a stake in the game. There was a reason why we needed to care that these guys were doing aerial acrobatics during training, right? They had set up the scenario where they were under a lot of pressure. They only had X amount of time to execute this mission because the thing that they needed to destroy was going to come online.
Okay. Does it come down to 1 second left?
No, not at all, actually. That was another thing that surprised me, and I will talk about it. So the chat's like, I don't care about Top Gun and or Kenny Loggins. just to put that up there. So I guess I'll move a little bit.
Yeah, hold on. So I was actually looking at the time, and I was going to say this: give your wrap up, give your score. I'm going to do one of these, and we come back. We'll keep the '80s theme, and we'll talk about our next bit. You get what I mean by the '80s theme?
Yeah,
you with me?
I am with you. All
okay,
right,
do that.
So let's talk about some of the things that I did not enjoy. I thought that some of the characters, the side characters, the ones that felt like maybe they were being set up for a sequel, had almost nothing to do. While they did an okay job in the beginning of kind of giving you archetypes or stereotypes, not racial stereotypes or anything like that, but just like attitude stereotypes. Like there was the cocky guy, there was the nerdy guy, there was the lady that had a chip on her shoulder and needed to play in the boys club. Like all of these stereotypes I felt were a little too kind of, honestly, they were a little too one-dimensional, if I had to put it out there. So that was that's a negative part. I do not like how often they leaned into the Iceman has been saving his career. I felt like if that were the case, it just kind of broke realism for me. I will say that I was very surprised when it didn't end when I thought it was going to end. There was a whole sequence at the end where they had to do additional stuff. Thought it was fantastic. There are a couple of scenes I didn't like because it was almost a shot-for-shot remake of scenes from the original, which nowadays doesn't actually feel like an homage. It just feels like they're trying to pull at your heartstrings.
It's to 1996 Psycho with Vince Vaughn. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
It's literally a shot-for-shot remake with one additional scene.
Yeah, and in this one, there was just a couple of scenes that were too on the nose for me because they were exactly the same in the beginning. Jennifer Connelly, I thought, did a good job, although I wish she would have been involved more. Because
you said about anything with Jennifer Connelly, you want more Jennifer Connelly.
I just mean her character in general. The Penny character I feel like was underutilized. She was in a couple of the scenes, but it was mostly to provide perspective.
For the record, 98 for the Psycho remake. That's my bad. That's my bad.
Fair enough. So they they used her to give context to the main character and to almost humanize him a bit. But I feel like she came off as also a little bit maybe two-dimensional, not one-dimensional like the thing I mentioned prior, but two-dimensional.
Okay.
But legitimately, it was a fun movie. The dialogue was spot on. It wasn't Maverick is this fucking resounding hero that everybody has to listen to.
Yeah, he was flawed.
He's flawed, and like him being a Maverick hasn't really worked out for him. Just like anybody being in a military service, this shit won't work out for them. That's just not how it works. But I will give it a 4.5, a solid 4.5. I would
So, out of 5 or out of 10?
out of 5.
Okay.
I would, yeah, right.
It's a very different score.
A solid 5 out of 20. No, no, solid 4.5. Honestly, I'm willing to go a 4.7, but I'm taking the 0.2 off because I have personal feelings about the original film, so
Sure.
I'm willing to bet that I'm probably giving it a little bit more credit in certain scenes. One big caveat that I want to say, which actually made the movie better for me, I saw it in 4X, if you know what that is.
Oh, isn't that where your seats jiggle?
Dude, this is the movie for that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I can.
This-
I mean, growing up, we had Great America, which had the Top Gun ride.
Yes.
And then the,
Days of Thunder.
yeah, but what's the movie? It's was the movie also
Days of
called Days
Thunder.
of Thunder?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. But
Yeah.
I mean, and that's essentially what it was, is they synced up the action scenes from Days of Thunder to a chair, and you felt like you were in Days of Thunder. Yeah, Top Gun 100% lends itself to that kind of experience. That's one of the few movies I accept that as being worth it.
literally said that to my wife. I was like, I would normally not pay for this
Fuck
extra.
no. Let's go watch fucking Death to Smoochie and have the seats jiggle. What's
like
happening?
even a Marvel movie, I feel like it would just hurt because every time they punch, your seat would fucking jiggle, right?
Yeah, that sounds awful.
But on this one, it's 3 things. It's I guess technically 4 things. It's lights. So a lot of times, if there was an explosion, you would see different lights flash in the theater. Your seats would move and go left and right. And there was air being shot in. So, like, as an example, if an airplane flew past you in the film, they would blow air next to your ear to simulate that thing just whooshing by.
Nice. That's cool.
I thought it was super well done. So the reason I say it as a caveat or as a disclaimer is that definitely added to the enjoyment of the film. Watching it on a big screen with big sound system and literally feeling the immersion as they're struggling through these like dogfights, right?
Yeah.
Legitimately. But again, I'd love to give it a 4.7. I'm gonna give it a 4.5 to be fair.
Look at you. Look at you.
I recommend it. Go check it out. I don't know that it will do as well at home. I am going to buy it. I guess I'll update you. Just a quick update. But yeah, I thought it was totally worth. This is the first movie I've seen in the movie theater since the pandemic, by the way.
Ah, okay.
So I thought that this was an amazing experience to be back in the theater for.
Yeah, I did
it
Spider-Man
worked.
and I did Doctor Strange back in the theater.
And see,
Spider-Man
Doctor
was my
Strange
first
I did
one
in a
back.
drive-in, and it's not the same.
No.
But yeah, no, I thought this was legitimate. 4.5. I can totally see where they could do a sequel to this. Do I feel like it needs one? I think if they kept Tom Cruise in a back seat, I think it would do well. Like I would love to see the next set of class in this, right? Like
Sure.
It's okay to still have Cruise there as the instructor and he's a hard ass and this and that, but I would like to see some growth in his character and that maybe this is the thing that finally makes him like, hey, maybe I'm not this solo person taking on the world.
Yeah.
So if they do a sequel that way, I'm definitely in. But if they're just gonna show him back in the driver's seat, I don't know that there's enough there. So yeah, that's my crazy ass review of an old property. And speaking of 80s old properties...
Wham, wham, synth music.
Synth and murder is what I'd like to say.
Ooh, I like the thing you got here. Okay, so what do they have on this box set? So we got the OG Nightmare on Elm Street. We got number 2, Freddy's Revenge. 3, Dream Warriors. 4, The Dream Master. 5, The Dream Child. And 6, Freddy's Dead. And then this little box set that you put up actually has the 2. One that I don't believe I've seen at all. And then one that I haven't seen in years. Wes Craven's New Nightmare and Freddy vs. Jason. New Nightmare being the one. I don't think I've seen it. If I have, it was, one of those nights I was drinking and doing other stuff with friends and, half watching a movie. But then Freddy vs. Jason I actually saw in theaters when it came out, but haven't seen it since.
I'm pretty sure I've only ever seen 1 through 4 and Freddy vs. Jason.
So here's, and I mean, I'm the guy in the Tales from the Crypt shirt who just got back from a horror convention, all this stuff. I was legitimately not sure what I had seen of Nightmare on Elm Street when going back into watching them, because just over time, some of the things bleed together.
Dream Master and Dream Child and Dream Warriors totally don't blend.
And then again, throughout high school, a lot of my friends watched horror, but we were kind of partying. We were drinking, we were smoking, we were hanging out. So, you have to watch a movie, Yeah. Or you catch it on cable late at night. You're 3/4 of the way through, and you're like, I'm just putting on something so I can fall asleep. Who gives a shit? Whatever. Yeah. So, I rewatched the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. The fantastic thing about rewatching Nightmare on Elm Street, if you have we are not sponsored. We are not sponsored
but
by anyone.
We want to be.
We'd love to be, but we are not. So, unsolicited sponsorship. If you have HBO Max, you can watch everything you see on the screen right now, except for number 4.
Yeah.
You have to go on Amazon Prime and spend $2.99 to rent number 4. They don't have it.
Okay.
I didn't look into it. I didn't get the chance to really dig in and see. Was it a different production company? Was it a different whatever? I didn't see why they had number 4, but they don't have number 4.
If I'm willing to bet, I bet you this was one where the original production companies or publishing companies sold a batch of shit, and it just didn't happen.
It happened to be in that batch, but yeah. So literally everything else. So I do plan on watching New Nightmare and rewatching Freddy vs. Jason. Which I actually like more than a lot of people do. I don't love it, but I like bits of it. Yeah. Okay, so let's just do a quick run through of Freddy as a whole, yeah?
Sure, let's do this.
So what it turned out that I had seen Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yep.
I had seen A Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors.
Okay.
And I had seen Freddy's Dead, A Final Nightmare. So basically, I had never seen 2, 4, and 5.
Yeah, so you just skipped a bunch in between.
Apparently, yeah. I mean, not intentionally. I will say, coming back out of it, I think I've seen the best ones. So the original Nightmare on Elm Street, famously featuring Johnny Depp for no reason, and he's not even a huge role. I mean, I really like.
It's not starring Johnny Depp for sure.
No,
it just has him in it.
Yes.
Let's make that distinction, because
he was cast because Wes Craven's daughter thought he was really cute, and she wanted her dad to cast the cute guy.
And
that was it. That's why he's in it.
And actually, I'm willing to bet that at this stage in his career, that might have made it.
Yep.
That was this his big breakout or no?
No.
I forget. Is this before or after Jump Street? I legitimately don't know the timeline.
I want to say it's before, but maybe I'm wrong.
New Nightmare is the best movie of all time, according to the chat. So now you got some splaining to do there.
Well, and again, that's one of the ones I had never seen and I haven't made it to in my rewatch. But that is the one that famously, I'm going to use the huge air quotes here, breaks canon. But A New Nightmare is where Freddy invades our world. So Wes Craven is in it playing Wes Craven. There are other actors from the films who come back and play themselves as actors who have been on the films, and Freddy is attacking them. Famously, it's not loved. It's not. But I'm withholding because a lot of times, especially with older series like this, I haven't seen it. It looks like a great idea. That's kind of from the chat. That's kind of the the mindset I'm trying to walk into it with, because especially with these old horror franchises, I'm actually finding I enjoy the ones that a lot of people didn't like. We just redid Scream, and I actually walked away. 4 and 5, 1 is still the best. Let's get that out of the way right now. Scream 1 is the best Scream. But shit, I would put 4 and 5 right after it, if I'm being honest. So, having done the Nightmare movies 1 through 6, not doing New Nightmare, and having seen Freddy vs. Jason and knowing it's not the best one. It's not. But doing this rerun, I think the one that is famously the best Freddy film, Dream Warriors, is probably the best one. Very sad that they don't get Patricia Arquette back for Dream Master to reprise her role, and then we very quickly kill her off. But who we replace her with in 4 and 5 is a great character, actually shows fucking character development, and goes from being this really meek, really quiet background girl kind of character into being like a strong leading woman who is trying to take charge of some bullshit she's already dealt with. So here let's do a quick like timeline and a review going through, right? I'm just gonna do these. I'm gonna do these in a straight shot and just kind of hit them really quick. Yep. So number 1 is a really solid movie. Not the best ending. I really don't like the ending to Nightmare 1, but I love the main actress. I don't think it's her strongest performance, but I really like her character, and I really like what she brought to the character. Okay?
I'm going to give my take. Nightmare on Elm Street 1 was the movie that broke me as a child. It's one that gave me probably the most nightmares. That scene of him coming out from above the bed. Fucking, yeah, for sure.
From chat, no, I have not seen that Max Landis pitch, but if anybody was going to do it right, it's Max Landis, which you should check out. They did do a sequel. It is the script. The script for Freddy vs. Jason 2, Freddy vs. Jason vs. Ash, was never made into a film, but was made into a comic book. Okay. So you can read that movie script done as a comic book. I think that one's released through DC. I might be wrong on the production company, but I would add Freddy vs. Ash, or Freddy vs. Jason vs. Ash is really good. And had it done just a little better, we would have gotten Freddy versus Jason versus Ash versus Chucky, which brings in a whole voodoo element. It would have been a lot of fun. Unfortunately, it never happened.
Chat says it's probably Dark Horse.
Oh, it might be. 5 different companies, including Avatar Press, shockingly. Not Avatar Airbender, but you and I going to Comic-Con for years. We know what company Avatar Press is. They have a run on Elm Street. Okay, moving through. Number 2. Look, number 2 is weak. It has... So what I learned rewatching the Freddy films is honestly... where a lot of old school slashers, it's just a matter of getting away from or defeating the slasher. What's great about the Freddy films is it adds this element of how did Freddy come back? Yeah. Each time they do find it, like Freddy has a different avenue for sneaking into these kids' dreams in each movie.
Yep.
And a different effect on each one, actually, as well. 2 has the weakest one. 2 is probably the weakest film in the series. It's a huge, huge, huge departure. I don't believe it's Wes Craven, and that shows really heavily. 2 is hands down the weakest, but where a lot of fans really shit on it and say it's a bad movie, I actually don't think it's a bad movie. I think it's a weak Elm Street movie. It's a good generic horror movie, but it is not a good Elm Street movie. 3, like I said before, Dream Warriors is the strongest one. You got fucking Patricia Arquette. And, oh, shit, I don't remember if it's 3 or if it's 4, but we introduced Lawrence Fishburne when he's still crediting himself as Larry Fishburne.
It's 3 because I can literally see him on the box art.
Oh, yes. So he plays an orderly, but he does come back in number 4. Smaller role, but fun that him and Patricia Arquette are getting a strong go in there. Mm-hmm. And we bring back the hero from number 1. She comes back. Our final girl comes back, like you do in an 80s horror film. And kind of leads this new group of kids on their battle against Freddy. Dream Warriors is the strongest one. Dream Master, Nightmare on Elm Street 4, is a direct sequel in which we quickly write off Patricia Arquette's character because we can't get Patricia Arquette back. And there's a little bit of plot phlebotomy where literally in one of the opening scenes, they're in a dream together and they're about to kill this replaced character. And she goes, "You'll need my powers to stop Freddy." Ah! And then throws her powers to the other girl, and the other girl is the new Dream Master.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, I sometimes throw my powers around, but nobody wants to take them.
Look. Dream Master is good. The lead does a fantastic job. I like if you're coming into it raw, the misdirect. So about the first 20, 30 minutes of the film, we think that the replaced actress is our final girl. We're really leading it up to this chick is building up to fight Freddy. And spoiler alert for a 40-year-old movie.
I don't know about 40, but I get your point.
30 to 40 years at this point. We're in 2022, and that shit didn't come out in the early aughts.
We're talking about the Dream Master. You keep talking. I'm looking this
Dream
up.
Master, okay, hold on. I'm going to throw up my guess. Dream Master is 87. I'm going to say 87. So even still, very old film.
Close. 88.
Okay. Year I was born.
Very close.
I was very close. Yeah. So that's what we're dealing with. 4 isn't the best Nightmare film. I would say we come back strong with 5. 91, double check me, but I'm pretty sure 5 is 91. Nightmare on Elm Street 5, we come back, we keep the same actress to play our lead. She has really elevated the character to where, again, before she was this really meek damsel in distress final girl who survives.
89.
Really? Is it 6 that's 91?
Fuck,
that means we did 4 and 5 back to back. What a brutal, and maybe that explains why 4 is a little weaker than 5 is because we did them back to back.
6 is 91. That's the one you were thinking of.
Okay. And then I will so 5 is a big improvement. One thing I'm going to back up super, super quick. One thing I liked in 4, the whole time I'm watching, my brain goes, how would I do Freddy, right? That's how I'm going to watch any of these old films is, how would I do
And he doesn't mean sexually, he's wondering how
how would I fuck Freddy? What am I using? What's my approach?
Why not?
Just what's my modern approach? If somebody came up to me today, how would I write Freddy? How would I write Freddy?
By the way, do you know Freddy's real weakness? Safety foam.
Safety foam.
That's right. Motherfucker comes at you with them claws. You just got some safety foam. Spray that shit. He can't. All he's gonna do is poke you.
Ah, damn it. 4 actually brought up a plot point that I didn't think anybody in the 80s was paying attention to, and they did. They make the claim in number 2, I believe, that as Freddy kills the kids, he collects their souls. And I started going, man, we've killed Freddy in each movie, but have we freed the souls and separated them from Freddy? Mm-hmm. And 4 does it. 4 goes, no, that is what he's doing. He has all the souls, and we have to free the souls or he's just going to keep coming back. So I love that. 5 comes back. It does some more phlebotomy, and we're really 5 and 6 feel like ending points both. Okay, 5, our new final girl establishes that she is the master of her dreams and has the tools needed to defeat Freddy. She finally has it. She's stepped into the role. She's doing it now. She's not the person who inherited the powers. She's the person who mastered the powers.
Cool.
So 6, we do a time jump of fucking
I was about
15
years. So fuck that. She's not going to do any of that. We're just going to pretend it A, didn't happen, or B, didn't work out the way we thought it was going to.
Yes. So 6, we ignore all of honestly, we ignore it. We don't know what happens to her. We don't know how it comes back. All we know is by the time we enter film 6, it's years later, and the people of Elm Street no longer have children at all because Freddy will kill them. Any child living, moving to, born at, anything, you're a child, you're on Elm Street, dead. Weird cameos in number 6 that I love. Tom Arnold, Roseanne Barr, Alice
Was this
Cooper.
around the time they were married? Well,
Yes.
Tom Arnold.
Yes,
and
91.
Roseanne Barr.
91.
Okay. Yep.
Alice Cooper playing
Okay.
Freddy Krueger's abusive father.
Okay.
I think adoptive father. And in a starring main cast, you know, he's not an A on the call sheet, but he's a second or a third on the call sheet. Breckin Meyer.
Okay.
Eurotrip, Robot Chicken.
Yeah.
Anybody who's not sure, pull up the name Breckin Meyer, and you'll look at him. You'll go, "Oh, Clueless." Very famously in Clueless.
I don't think he was in Eurotrip, but I know who you're talking about.
Am I not talking about you?
You're thinking
sorry,
Road
not
Trip.
Road Trip, not
Yeah,
Euro Trip.
very
You
different
are
films,
correct.
both hilarious.
Yes.
One of them holds up more than the other, but yes.
I'll talk to you offline. I'm curious which one do you think holds up more than the other. Either way, so Freddy's Dead, weird time jump, It's a weird time jump that feels out of place, but weirdly does not break any canon.
Uh-huh.
Nothing is broken from this film because we ignore even discussing previous films.
Yeah.
So everything tracks by default. Though I will say, we really get it. What I always liked about Freddy as a kid was Freddy seemed like a whimsical killer, where your Jason and your Michael Myers were really stoic, quiet, murder, move along. They were machines.
He's not a faceless killer. That was the creepiest part of Freddy. He found joy in what he was doing.
Yes, he reveled, and he used the dream thing, this surrealist approach to doing things worked really well.
It was very creative how he offed people in most of the films.
Yeah. Where him being more whimsical with it really started in 3, it's really cemented in 4, and by 6, it's full tilt. The video game death where Freddy's not even there. He's just playing the video game that the kid is in. The hearing aid and his like overly sexualized rubbing of this chalkboard and the horrible noise. Robert Englund is honestly Tommy Lee Jones as Two-Face in Batman Forever. That is
just
fucking
hams
Robert
that
Englund.
shit up.
He's in. He's 100% in, and it works, dude. It fucks.
At that point, you're a bunch of movies in. Why not?
Right.
The
Why
people
not
that are
just
coming to see
lean
you
the
are
fuck
coming to
in?
see you.
I will say, Freddy. It's not called Nightmare on Elm Street 6. It is Freddy's Dead: The Final Nightmare.
Okay.
One of the more solid ones. And so I really don't think this is a bias of these are the only ones I've seen, and yes, they're the best. I think it's a real credit to my friends growing up showing me horror movies because they really trimmed the fat and showed me the best ones. 1, 3, and 6. Those are the Friday the 13th films to watch. You don't need the other, like, it'll be a little weird. There'll be a little bit where you go, I don't quite understand who this is kind of stuff. But as far as running the plot, you don't really need to see the other ones. It's good. It's fun. I wouldn't say there's a bad film in all of them. Even watching Scream, I would actually argue, I believe it's Scream 3. I actually just think it's a bad movie. It's not a bad Scream movie. It's not a bad movie for the time. I don't like it. I just think it's a bad movie.
It's fair that you don't like it. I haven't seen it in a while, so I'm going to reserve judgment, but I don't remember it being great.
I think it's Paramount has them all, and if you want my login, I think you should watch through Scream. I think you should.
Let me just say, I bought Paramount Plus because I thought they were going to have Top Gun. So let's just put that up there. Not Maverick. I mean the original.
If it's not that one, though, let me know. If you don't have whatever, because somebody has all of them. There is one platform that has all the Scream movies. It's HBO or it's Paramount. I don't remember which one.
We'll figure it out. But yeah. No,
I do think you should watch them. But if anybody's going to do Nightmare and you go, oh God, 6 films for canon, 8 films for non-canon, I think you can get away with just doing 1, 3, and 6 and actually have a really fun, really solid run. This Halloween, do yourself a favor and make these your Halloween binge. Do Nightmare on Elm Street. HBO Max has all the ones that I think you need to see. 1, 3, 6, it has them all.
Again, we're not sponsored, but we want to be.
If you want to do a full run of everything, HBO Max has all but 4. It's $2.99 for the rental on 4, and I'm really looking forward to Wes Craven's New Nightmare. Even though it's really, really low rated, I end up walking away a lot finding really fresh ideas in low rated films. And then Freddy vs. Jason, I remember being really stupid but really fun, and I think I'm still gonna have a lot of fun with it.
I saw the New Nightmare.
Oh, sorry, and they have the remake. The Nightmare on Elm Street remake from 2012.
Then I take that back. That's the one I saw. I didn't see New Nightmare. I thought
it has the guy who plays Rorschach as Freddy Krueger.
Yeah.
I hear really bad things, but you know what? I'm still looking forward to seeing what they do with it.
Yeah, I saw it. I don't feel like it was a Nightmare on Elm Street movie.
Okay.
But I don't think it was a terrible movie.
Yeah, that's kind of like, I want to give it a try because weirdly at the end of the day, I feel like Attacked in Your Dreams is generic enough that it doesn't need to be a Freddy movie to still hit home.
Yeah, fair enough. Definitely watch it though. Just give it.
I'm gonna finish out the last 3 on this, and then I'm actually thinking about doing is I'm thinking about spending money on this podcast, Eduardo.
Oh boy, what were we doing?
I think I might buy, because it's not streaming anywhere. I tried. There is no consistent source of finding a majority of the movies where I wouldn't have to break down and pay money to rent them somewhere else. I think I'm just going to buy this huge box set for Friday the 13th movies, and then I'll have collected in my mind, my mental collection, my brain library. I will have done all of the original Halloween movies, the original Nightmare on Elm Street, and the original Friday the 13th. When I did Halloween, I did leave off, I think, at H2O, the 2000 sequel to Halloween 2 that ignores Halloweens 3, 4, and 5.
Yes, there needs to be almost a very specific episode talking
Halloween
on
is the most broken.
Yeah.
Out of all the franchises in the series, Halloween's the most broken, because then after H2O, there's another reboot, then there's another reboot, and that reboot has a sequel. So the first reboot ignores films, the second reboot tries to restart canon, and then the third reboot does well enough and gets a sequel, but it's Rob Zombie, so people automatically hate it. But I like Rob Zombie, so maybe I'll like it. But that's where I left. So I've seen the original Halloween movies, I've seen the original Nightmare movies. I think I need to do the original Friday the 13th, and I might just spend the money on the box set so that I can sit down and watch the original Friday the 13th movies. Though, you know which one is the longest run? Where Freddy, if we're talking canon run, like I said, New Nightmare breaks canon, becomes our world, right? We're automatically I don't care if it is sequential and whatever else. The minute you come to our world, you've broken canon and it's over.
I don't know about it being over, but I understand what you're saying.
Jason Goes to Manhattan in Friday the 13th 8. And I don't believe it's the last one.
Oh, no, it's not. It's not, because X was 10. And I
would say, for me, even though it is called 10, I would say that Jason X is a non-canon film. I would go that far. I personally don't think it's really canon.
Hey, you can't tell us it's not. It's in the future. What do you know? All I'm saying.
So you have Friday the 13th, Friday the 13th 2, Friday the 13th. Oh, sorry, Friday the 13th Part 2, okay. Friday the 13th Part 3, Friday the 13th The Final Chapter, Friday the 13th A New Beginning.
Yep.
Friday the 13th Jason Lives, New Blood, Jason Takes Manhattan, then The Final Friday, and they do call it The Final Friday. Jason Goes to Hell The Final Friday. Then it is Jason X. And that's part of the reason I feel like it is non-canon. But the box set I was looking at does include it. So I will probably watch it.
I'm just saying it's the future. You don't get to tell us what to do. All right.
$115 for that box set. That's not a terrible price.
No, it's not for that many films.
For that many movies. That's what does it. It's that many.
Yeah. That's fair. Okay.
Yeah.
So we're getting here right up on time. I know we started a little late today, so we're going a little bit over. But there is something I wanted to talk about because you and I were a huge fan of this when it came out. It's in original form. You've already seen it. I finally got a chance to see it, even though I kickstarted it. but I want to talk about The Legend of Vox Machina.
We are over time, so yeah, let's nutshell this bitch.
But yeah, so let's do this real quick. I won't talk plot. I won't talk any of that.
Yeah, we did that when I reviewed it.
Exactly. And we did that when we reviewed Critical Role. So this is, if you haven't seen Critical Role, it's basically some very talented voice actors doing D&D in a live environment. Season 3, I think, is still up and running on both YouTube and I think
honestly, you have to go British with this and call it Series 3.
Series 3, fair enough. Actually, you're right. It was Season 1, Season 2, Series 2.
No, it's Series 1, Series 2, Series 3. Series 2 is Mighty Nine, not Vox Machina.
Oh, did they go back to Vox Machina for Series 3? I'm out of it.
No, and that's what I mean. So Series 1 is Vox Machina, Series 2 is Mighty Nine, and Series 3 is an entirely different group.
But technically, Critical Role Season 1 and 2 were all Vox Machina.
No, that's Series 2 was Mighty Nine.
I thought the way that the episodes came out, because they took that big break at the end of Vox Machina Season 1, and then they went back and finished it off, because there were two big major plot points. So I thought that was
everything.
the case.
Everything after the fight with Vecna is technically filler canon. Then we move into Series 2, Mighty Nine.
Vecna is part of Season 2.
But you're a plot. So that's like saying Legend of Korra is not a new show. It's the same world. It's the same planet. It's the same everything. No. But it is years and years later, and it is an entirely different group.
This is where I understand. This is where nerds start to argue. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm willing to be wrong, but as I understand it, when they kill. Spoiler for Critical Role. When they defeat the large red dragon, that's the end of Season 1. And then they go fight Vecna for Season 2, as far as I understood.
So you would claim that they are on Season 4 if we're talking about it in seasons?
No, I think Vox Machina is Series 1 with 2 seasons. I think Mighty Nine is Series 2 with just the 1 season, and I'm not sure what they're doing. Series 2 with the 1 season. I'm not sure what Series 3 is. I don't know about it. That's how in my head I've had it.
Yeah, I'll accept that. I'll accept that.
Just because of even
you're basically talking Scanlan and post Scanlan.
Exactly. They took a big ass fucking break for a while. Even how they released them. Remember
I mean, realistically though, that big break was to separate from Geek and Sundry.
Actually, that's probably true. But that being said. Doesn't matter. It's the same reason why some shows fucking have additional seasons on other networks. It's just the way that it works. But yeah, so we know that if you don't know the story of Vox Machina, I welcome you to go and watch Critical Role. It is really well done. This is the animated version that was kickstarted, and they did Season 1 here goes as far as Whitestone. The climax is basically where they take Whitestone back, basically closing out one of the characters' backstories.
And so specifically what this show is, this was not a show that started as a show.
No.
This was a show that started as friends playing a game, and because they were all professional voice actors, sort of morphed into a show. So what this animated show was supposed to capture, what Vox Machina, not Critical Role, Vox Machina was supposed to capture was the years of the show that took place before the show was a show. This was the story of them playing when they were still just friends playing a game and were not doing a live D&D session.
Yes, however, I feel like it didn't actually do
that. I would say it covered what they played. I feel like they kind of made it sound like they played more of a history than they actually played. They clearly started their campaign having already been a group of adventurers, not started their campaign from becoming a group of adventurers.
Yes.
At least that's what this show would show you. I don't
It-
know that that's actually how the game went, but according to this show, if this is everything they did, starting with Liam O'Brien's birthday, which is how they started. It was a D&D campaign that was just supposed to be a one-day thing for somebody's birthday, and they all had so much fun they kept playing. If this is truly all of it, they started as already a party.
Okay. Because of just how it was sold and because of all the references made in Critical Role, I made the assumption, because honestly, everything that I saw in this season, I remember from them voice acting it.
Well, yes, but it's because they were kind of expositioning a lot of history. This fight in Whitestone is not the fight in Whitestone that you're thinking of. The fight in Whitestone is a very different fight where they finally, for good, kill these two villains, which is not really what happens in this show. I know what you're looking at. It is not really what happens in this show. The fight in Whitestone ended differently.
So that is a possibility, because it's been a while since I've watched the original Crit Role. But what I do have to say is, where this film started, it is exactly where Crit Role started for me. They did some flashbacks. The fight with Krieg is pretty much one of the first few episodes, right? That's a thing. So
okay.
So that's where I feel like I wanted more of them coming together. I wanted to get more Pike and Grog.
Yes.
Because there's a very deep connection implied, not just in this, but in actual Crit Role when they go through it later on, right? Where they fulfill her backstory at one point. So
right.
That's where I felt this fell a little short, where it was just like, okay. There are a couple of moments, I will say, where it feels like they're like, well, that played off really well in a D&D acted campaign. We don't think it'll play off as well in a cartoon, so they changed some stuff. And I'm not the type to be like, it's an adaptation, so it sucks automatically, right?
Yeah.
I get why they did that, but sometimes I felt like it took the joke away. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
Like some of the Scanlan scenes, instead of making them be an inside joke where we know that the character knows that it's fucking out there, it was played a little too straight-faced, and it just kind of came off as weird, and we're not really sure what's going on. What the fuck's up with this pervy gnome kind of deal?
Sure.
But I enjoyed it. The voice acting was spot on. I hated the characters that I hated in the original. Which
means they did their job.
Exactly, they did the job. But I will say, I hate how they tried to make the most annoying character more palatable.
I know exactly what you're talking about. You're a dick, but whatever.
No, legitimately, look.
You hate her.
I don't hate her.
I hate the fact that you can clarify it just off of that.
Oh, 100%. I don't hate her. I hate how the player was portrayed. Because, again, in my opinion, what the fuck do I know? These are dudes. These are folks, not necessarily dudes, having fun with the D&D game that they got a chance to share with us. So I really have no right to give them a hard time. But if I had to choose a character that I didn't like, that same character, I dislike this go. And again,
I really liked what they did with Mercer. I thought the way they weaved Mercer in to just sort of play random background characters was hysterical. I fucking choked catching him doing some of the random background voices.
I thought that was well done for sure, because I was worried. I'm like, how are they going to throw it in? Is he legitimately just going to be a narrator?
And the bold move at him not playing Gilmore, I kind of loved. Because Gilmore was his character, man.
Yeah.
And to have him not play it was a bold choice that I feel like worked really well.
I thought it worked, but I still think he could have done better, if I'm being honest.
But could he only have done better because it's the voice you're used to?
It wasn't just that. I thought that watching the crit roll live, watching O'Brien fuck with him.
Yeah, him and O'Brien really did have a thing as Gilmore and Vax.
Exactly.
Vax.
Vaxel
He's Vax,
Dawn.
she's Vex.
Yeah.
Yes.
Vaxel Dawn Vixelia. Yes.
Yes.
I thought that we actually lost out on that because those two, when they are acting opposite of each other, do a really good job.
They really do.
So I didn't hate it, but again, I did feel like I think I would have liked Mercer to reprise his role as that. But yeah, so biggest downfall is I thought that Scanlan was misrepresented. Keyleth was way... They fixed her. I'm sorry. They fixed her. It happens. I get it. There's still a couple of parts where you could see some of the original characterization coming through, and I still got annoyed at those parts, but that's okay. It's okay that you don't like a character. That doesn't mean the actor's bad.
Right.
I'm not saying anything against...
You're supposed to hate King Joffrey in Game of Thrones.
Right.
You're supposed to hate him.
Yeah,
the actor is not a bad person. You don't need to attack him.
Exactly.
You're supposed to hate him.
I don't like the ways that Keyleth was portrayed by the actors sometimes, but it's their character. They get to do whatever. They get to pick that. Yeah. I just get to not like it, and I still my least favorite. Although I feel like they did fix her and she did fine. My biggest disappointment.
Nutshell it up, man. We're 16 over on recording and 30 over on real time because we were late.
I know. Honestly, my biggest letdown was I thought Pike was completely underused.
I did too, but what I actually looked at my wife and said at one point was, I wonder if this isn't a nod to her filming The Blind Side and constantly having to leave the show. Because she did. She spent a long time doing months and months and months not being able to record with them because she was in a different city filming the show that she was on. And I do feel like this might have been an intentional nod to that. While I do wish we got more, I kind of appreciate the realism in the art.
I understand that, but if that were the case, they wouldn't have fixed Keyleth. You can't have it both ways, in my opinion. That's my thing.
So bad.
Well,
You're so mad
it's not
about
even.
it.
It's. I would have liked. No, I'm actually more mad about the Pike thing, because a lot of in the real world, we know why the voice actor wasn't able to do it. But within canon, there were legitimate explanations, and I like that they tried to go into some of that, but I still felt like it was just slightly unutilized, right?
Sure.
That's the biggest downside. I thought season 1 was great. It made me laugh out loud.
It wasn't even supposed to get a season 2, and from what I've heard, it's already cleared for 2 and 3.
I always thought they were gonna do.
They would have liked to, but it was not clear for that. It was written with the intention of being able to end at season 1, and after I think it was the first or the second episode, Amazon went, we're doing 2 more seasons of this.
Yeah, because it
Which great for them, because honestly they struggled to find a distributor, and the fact that they found a distributor who not only put it out but recognized the impact that it had and was willing to go do it again.
Yeah, I'm all for it. I will definitely watch more. Give it a rating.
Good for them. I think I did the first time, and now this is me working in hindsight, so if my rating is different, this is perfect. The rating of hindsight. Let's call it somewhere between a 3.5 and a 4. I have to give it a range because it is totally in hindsight, but let's put it between a 3.5 and a 4.
Yeah, I'll probably give it a 4 myself, having just watched it, because I thought it was well done. Grog's character was great.
I feel like people in the moment love Scanlan, but truly Grog is the gem.
Scanlan was fun because it was surprising
and because the actor is so good at it. He nails that role.
When things were happening, they were unexpected.
Yes.
Unfortunately, now we already knew the characterization. We knew generally what was going to happen, and it it just didn't feel it just didn't feel quite the same. But that's okay. It's an adaptation.
Yep.
So yeah, solid 4. I'm definitely in for another season. Actually, this is probably the most fun animated show I've seen recently outside of a DC movie.
Okay.
Because DC animated movies just bring it for me.
They do.
But yeah, that's where I land. I know I was supposed to nutshell it, but there's just so much to say. It's such a
But then I didn't.
it's a huge property. But yeah, okay. On that note, any final words?
Nib High football rules.
All right. Oh, Doyle also rules. Bye.